I would like to begin by telling you that I am very happy and honored to be here today. It is a pleasure for me to be able to be here in South America for the first time, and I hope not my last. Buenos Aires in particular is a bustling, cosmopolitan city full of culture. Definitely a great venue for this occasion. And it is an honor to speak in front of such an enthusiastic audience as you about a subject which is both pressing and interesting. I think you're all aware of the giant plastic island that is floating in the Pacific Ocean, somewhere between Hawaii and the Californian coast. At first, scientists and other academics ignored the growing heap of plastic waste, as they thought it would disappear on its own or scatter to faraway places according to the winds and the currents. Little did they realize what a monster they were facing, and it even has a name: the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This garbage patch is made up of plastic and floating trash mainly dumped into the ocean by Asian countries. The debris is made up of small plastic particles suspended or just below the surface of the ocean, as well as chemical sludge. Large items of particles are practically inexistent in the patch, and because of this, the precise distribution and size of the patch are indefinite. Even detection by satellite and aircraft is almost impossible. The only way to get an idea of the size of the floating island is through sampling, which is very complex, thus making calculations quite imprecise. One calculation sets the size of the patch at 700,000 square kilometers, or about the size of Texas, while another one calculates that the size is more than 15 million square kilometers, making it about as large as Russia. After studying the patch, researchers from the Ocean Cleanup Project stated that the floating garbage island covers about 1.6 million square kilometers. Its plastic concentration has been estimated to reach 100 kilograms per square kilometer in the center, and decreasing to 10 kilograms per square kilometer on the outer borders of the island. They have also estimated that around 80,000 metric tons of plastic make up the patch, which means that 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic are involved. And the scary and pressing thing is that the patch is rapidly accumulating and growing. A similar patch of floating debris is also found in the Atlantic Ocean. It has been christened the North Atlantic Garbage Patch. The debris of this garbage patch comes from the Americas, mainly from North America. There are also a number of smaller floating garbage islands in other areas of the oceans. An example would be along the coast of Patagonia, where patches of up to 10 kilometers have been detected. Any place where there is an ocean convergence of currents is a probable site for this type of disaster. We all know that plastic takes years to degrade. Take for example a Tetra Brick container. It needs 30 years to degrade and not continue to contaminate the environment. Styrofoam trays and plastic bottle caps take 100 years to degrade, while plastic bags take 150. The worst contaminants are plastic bottles, which need from 100 to 1000 years, depending on the specific material used, and disposable glasses, which take 1000 years to completely degrade. Also, some plastics are more dangerous than others as they contain great amounts of mercury, and this has a drastic effect on marine life as well as humans. There are bacteria at the bottom of the ocean that convert the mercury into methyl mercury, which is ingested by fish. When these contaminated fish are eaten by humans, they can cause fetus malformations. The plastic also kills marine life, as plastic rings often end up around the throats of seals and other sea animals, eventually choking them to death. different types of plastic strings many times cut off the feet of seagulls, while dolphins get caught up in plastic bags and or strings which do not allow them to emerge to breathe, thus dooming them to death. Even sea turtles are affected as they swallow plastic bags, confusing them for sustenance. So much for the plastic content of this floating garbage island, because this is the visible part of it. However, it also contains plastic residues which in turn contain batteries and or metallic substances which are terribly toxic. I could continue to give you data about this subject, but my main purpose today is to try to convince you that something must be done to stop the situation and start a cleanup process. This, though, must be an international endeavor. All countries must cooperate and be willing to actively do something to reduce the risks that these floating garbage islands pose for the environment and for human life. It will be a costly action as well as a long one, but it must be done, and it must be done immediately. Already there are some companies trying to come up with plastic-eating bacteria that might be able to literally eat it off the face of the ocean. At least it is something that might work. But also we, as human beings, must commit ourselves to bettering our lives and those of others. The only way to do this is to reduce, and I mean drastically reduce, the production and the use of plastic items around the world. Plastic was invented in 1907, so therefore, as we know it today, it is barely 112 years old, more or less, with all of the new forms of plastic that have been invented since then. Humans lived perfectly well without plastic in their lives, so I think it is safe to say that we can live perfectly well with less plastic in our lives. Reduction would be a part of the solution. For example, many countries have started to ban or to reduce the use of plastic straws for drinking. It is a beginning. Another very important concept to take into consideration is that of recycling. Some plastics can and should be recycled. In this manner, they would be reused and not dumped into the trash and eventually become part of the floating garbage island. Our organization is aware that this is an expensive investment, but it is well worth it in the medium and the long term. And we are willing to give advice and aid to those who are willing to start recycling and to those who have ideas for other uses of plastic.